I'm Jared Wareham, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Cattle Call. In Buckeye, Arizona again, still here at Paul Hayden's, I guess you'd call it, you got so much stuff going on, you can't just call it a feedlot, you can't just call it a mill, but what would you call it, classify this as just a
farm and feedlot.
Farm and feedlot operation. So we're here at the farm and feedlot operation, and what we're going to talk about here real quick is what your operation does from the feedlot standpoint. Most of us realize that beef cattle or we think of when we're thinking about a feedlot, we're thinking, okay, those are beef species, and we don't think much about feeding out dairy steers and what they contribute to the beef industry. And so I was going to let Paul tell us a little bit about where the dairy steers come from. That's all you feed. You don't feed any beef dairy hybrids, and they grade really well. And he's going to kind of fill you in on some information regarding feeding dairy cattle and the fact that it is a substantial footprint within the beef industry. And we not every feedlot has Angus or Red Angus or Sim Angus or whatever steers in those feedlots, or Charolais Cross. There are a lot of feedlots that do feed specifically dairy. So where do these come from?
We get these ones from California, New Mexico, and Texas, but mostly California. So they come in here about $275. We keep them here for a year. During that time, they'll put on about a little over 1,000 pounds, 1,100 pounds. Ship them out, and about $1,350. I guess that'd be 1,100. Take them to the plant. They grade really high. One of the biggest misconceptions with these dairy breeds is people come out here and they think we're feeding them just for hamburger. Well, it couldn't be anything farther from the truth. These things grade about 90-95% choice. We get about 20% primes. They grade very well.
So I think a good way to classify it from my experience, and I don't feed them, but I know work in the industry, know other guys that do kill them and harvest them, and you call it almost like white tablecloth dining. I mean, the quality is very high. We're talking like Ruth Chris quality steakhouse, and so yeah, it is a common misconception. You were even telling me they're yielding a lot better than dairy cattle used to. What were you yielding on?
Yeah,
on
we use about 62%, 61.5%, 62%. So just right below, what's it, Angus, 63 and a half?
Yeah, 63. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
it's not too far behind.
No, so that's exceptional. So that's a pretty cool deal. So they're taking something that because in the dairy industry, the females are what's everything's built around the cow, and so the steers are they're just kind of the redheaded stepchild of the operation, but not anymore. With what you guys are doing with your steam flaking operation, your feed yard here, you're taking a beef product that isn't historically considered to be a premium beef product, but it really is. So
one of the good things about this, if you look at these cattle, every one of them, and they're just consistent. I mean, they're all about the same height, same exact size. They're all born within about a month of each other. So that's the nice thing about these whole things.
And part of the other side of that is the genetic side. From dairies are very intensive on AI. I mean, they're 100%. I'd say most of them are probably 100% with artificial insemination, some embryo work. So the genetics are got to be extremely consistent.
Yes.
So the calves coming in off, let's say a dairy in California, if you're getting 2 or 3 potloads of calves from that same dairy, you've got to think that the genetics are lined up extremely close, and so that the performance in the feedlot and on the rail when they're harvested has got to be fairly predictable as well. So that's a big advantage, and it's not like we're in some beef operations you're not as heavy intensive on the AI, and a guy that has 500 cows may have bulls from this guy, and this guy. So genetically there's more diversity. Now there is advantages to genetic diversity from the cow production standpoint and some of those things in performance, but for where you're feeding, the actual what we would call it the similar genetic gene pool has got to be a real advantage for you guys.
Yes, yeah, that's the packers around here like them. They're very consistent, high quality beef. So.
Awesome. I tell you what, this has been a good experience, and we may try to get another one while we're here. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this.
Yeah.
Catch you later.